I believe I'm getting the direction to bring you something back to consider for water efficiency standards as far as code goes? Okay, all right.
There's a lot of things we can do, we could implement, and we'd really want to evaluate what that'll mean for our area and the people and how they would accept it, you know?
So with that, note that because it would be an ordinance change, it would need to go to Planning Commission first, and then to you guys. So would you want us to bring it to you first before it goes to Planning Commission? You want us just to prepare it and send it to Planning Commission? Or how do you want to, we can work on it in a work session and just so that you know what's going to Planning Commission. I'm happy to do that.
That's the best.
That seems to work out well when we do that.
Better, right?
Okay, all right, we'll do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, is Lynn back with us?
Lynn, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Still here.
From the
A
heavens.
voice from above.
Yeah.
It's an hour later there, too.
Okay, the last item that we have right now is the discussion and possible action on the Bike Skills Park Design Update and Contract Award.
Yep.
And you all got that letter, right? And I guess I really wasn't surprised because I was more shocked that the cost to do the park from their original bid was only $212K. And so to say, oh yeah, we don't do the dirt work after they were pressed on it, I think was really good to make sure before we got into the final signatures. So that's really why we're discussing this tonight. And
Well, the cost now is $351, right?
yep.
Yes, sir. So I think part of the reason for that, if I remember correctly, when we first went into this, we said, well, maybe we could do some of the dirt work, and John has talked about that in his memo. And so I think that's kind of where the disconnect may have been the last time we talked about this at a work session was they're saying, here's how much the equipment is and the install of the equipment. And then we put together who's going to do the dirt work and started asking the questions. And they said, well, we talked about early on, and it was true. We talked about early on with the group, with the providers of the equipment, that we could do some of the work. And I think we still can. I think we can do everything from some of the structural fill we can get from our own pit and haul it up there. That would be something that we could do on our own. That could be something that we maybe can get an excavator, and we might know a guy that can get on an excavator and do some excavation work and dirt work and that kind of stuff. And so I think there are still opportunities for us to do that. We did get some information from them earlier today that we probably wouldn't be able to do all of it, but I think we could do at least a half or a portion of that extra 140,000 that makes up the 351 that we're talking about. So what we would be looking at tonight is to get approval to go ahead and move forward with the contract and directing staff to go and get that matching grant. Really, we're only if we're talking about what we talked about last time, really, we're only talking about $70,000 difference from what we talked about last time for our portion of it, if we can get the matching grant to bump up to the higher amount. And I believe a good portion of that 70,000 we can put in ourselves. We can provide our own structural fill from our pit and haul it up there. And again, I think that we got somebody that could get on an excavator and do a good part of that work. And that way we could still show it as a matching grant, but it isn't necessarily cash out of our pocket, all of it. I mean, we'd still have fuel and other things that we'd have to pay, but I think that we can cover some of that cost, the difference, with city resources that are not necessarily dollars.
Do they have cuts and fills pages that we could look at to come up with this rather than lines of delineation?
We don't, but we will. They're not far enough on that part of the design at this point in time.
Will they do that?
They will, yeah. Yep, we actually have a meeting set up with them on the phone, on a Zoom call next Monday to kind of get some of those details hammered out.
Last time John was very confident we could get the grant.
Yeah.
But I think the last one we got was well under 100,000. Are we concerned at all that we've more than doubled what we got last time?
They have, in this particular grant that the state has, they have millions of dollars sitting there that are available for this. So I'm pretty confident that we'll be good on that. And plus we have our folks that we have working for us on the lobbying side of things that can help us with that as well. So pretty confident on that there's quite a bit of money there. The trails with the governor and this whole outdoor recreation stuff has really gotten a lot of focus over the last couple of years.
So the increased price might actually help us out because we get a bigger grant and we can do some of that work that we don't get in the cash.
Yep,
So,
you have the
actually-
vision.
yeah, okay. I just want to make sure we didn't risk it because we're
Yeah.
asking for so much more, but
I think that I'm very confident that we'll
Okay.
be able to bring that in.
In reality, there's a lot of things that are much more easier for us to do to build, especially with the guys that I have that run equipment or have equipment that they'll throw in. I believe once they see it, and John talked about pulling the committee together and talk about it. I think a lot of guys will garner this vision and go, wow, I want to be a part of this no matter what, because all of their kids are up there riding, they're riding. This has from toddlers to experts.
Yeah, and you remember from the grant that we already got that we used for the restroom and the parking lot and the signs and the picnic tables and stuff, we were able to, if my memory serves me correctly, somewhere around $30,000 of that matching portion was all volunteer time.
Yep.
It wasn't any cash out of our pocket or anything other than just coordinating that volunteer time. So that's huge for us,
Awesome.
and they allow us to do that, so it's fantastic.
So it says in parentheses, we are working with American Wrap Company to see the ground working specs to determine if that is something we could accomplish. When are we supposed to receive that?
Like I say, we have a meeting with them next week, and they will be, I don't know if we'll have it by then, but we do have a meeting with them next week to discuss that and figure out where we go from there and kind of plan for that.
And what happens if it's determined that it's not something that can be done on our own and we have to hire it out?
So we have enough specs that's why I'm confident we can do about a half of that work ourselves. We have enough specs and got some information in a late email today from the technical side of it that shows that we could certainly do a good portion of that work.
Right now, it's all the wooden ramps. Technicality of the black line, which is
So
So who's gonna be building the black line?
that would be them. That would be American Ramp Company. That's the
The
more
whole
technical. The black line would be the more technical. Again, we can provide the structural fill for it from our pit at no cost to us, and just the cost of trucking it up there. That's part of it as well. As it's very technical. It's much more advanced than as far as compaction requirements and other things for them to meet the standards of the black line. Let me go back. We are working with American Ramp Company to see the groundwork specs. We did receive those today, and that's why I'm estimating that we can cover about half of that installation or that groundwork cost on our own, because we've seen those specs now and have had a chance to look at them.
So you received them today. What's supposed to come next week?
This memo was written last Friday and put in the packet on Monday. So that's last week was last Friday when the memo was written.
And who else needs to review the specs to make sure? I just want to make sure if we do it, that it's done right.
Right. Yep. We will have. We will actually have a geotechnical report that'll be done on it by us before now and then, and that will help us to garner that as well. And then John and I and the mayor will, along with probably others, the volunteers that he's got, decide how we're going to do that and what we can tackle and what's best left to the company. But again, if you look at it, the black line is the one that is the more technical side of things. The blue, green, and yellow makes up more groundwork or more geography, I guess, on the site. That is the stuff that we believe we can take care of on our own, judging from the specs that we received today.
And so this company that we're paying, when they come in, are they going to evaluate the work that has been done and make sure
Yeah.
that it's the way that they've designed it and that it's the way that it's supposed to be?
Yep, they've already talked about that in the technical specs. They would actually be here to help us and make sure that we're doing it the way that they would need to see it, all the tie-ins, all the berms and everything. They would actually inspect that at the end and then actually have a professional rider ride all of the courses to make sure all of the transitions, all the ramps, all of the stuff that we've done to tie it in, ties into their structures that they're building for us and give us the very best product. So that's part of what their scope is to be able to help us do that as we do part of the work and they do part of the work.
If they only do the black line, input on the blue, green, and yellow, will they reduce that number from the 350?
The 351, yes, that's what we will negotiate between here and there as we get more information on the geotech, as we get more information on the topo that you're talking about, the mayor that shows the topo lines. Those are all things that we will go through and evaluate with them so that they can help us to understand what we can do and we know what we can take on. But that's the anticipation, again, just from the where the lines are at on the page and the email that we received with the specs as far as the dirt work and the requirements for the yellow, green, and blue lines versus the black line. That's where the delineation is.
And so the depending on negotiations with them and depending on how much of it we can do, how much of it we have to outsource, the price could go up.
The price won't go up from 351. The 351 is assuming that they do the whole thing. The price can actually come down as we start working on what we're talking about having us do and having them do. The price will not go higher than 351. That's them doing everything. And then the discussion has been, hey, what can we do to help bring that number down if we have got volunteers, or we can do some of the dirt work and supply the materials, all that kind of stuff. That's where the discussion has been, to bring that number down, not go higher than that number. That 351 has not been negotiated down at this point in time. We've just looked at the specs and said, yeah, we think we can cover. If you remember, the equipment itself is 210, if I remember right from the last time that we talked about this. And so we're talking about $140,000 that we believe we can cut in half by us doing half of the work.
So why wasn't that included in the original? Did they just assume that somebody else was gonna do it?
Again, going into it, I think there's a learning curve for our community services director to make sure that we have all the good information and we know what we're going into, and quite frankly, that's what they sent was 210,000, and then we started asking questions. And then from there, again, that's why we didn't have it necessarily we had it on as a discussion item 2 weeks ago, but we didn't have it on there because we didn't feel like that we had all the details. Now we have all the details and can have the council make a determination off of all the details that we have, not wondering what's out there still.
Well, as I said before, if we're gonna do it, I wanna make sure that it's done right.
Absolutely.
I wanna make sure that it's safe. And I'm not super happy with the way that this has gone down. That we didn't have all the information the last time. That's what I'm saying, is that they were not upfront with all the information that we needed.
Well,
Questioned that at that point, saw the 200, so it didn't.
again, I think there was some miscommunication on what they thought the scope would be and what we thought the scope was when we were going back and forth, because there were some early conversations and quite frankly, as we went through the process, that, hey, maybe we could do some of the dirt work. So that again, lost in translation, lost in communication, whatever it happened to be. I don't fault anybody. I think it's a combined error as we just kind of went down the road that we went down and tried to flesh it all out.
Well, I'm not looking to lay blame. All I'm saying is I'm not happy about it. And I have a right to feel that way, right?
I don't discount that at all.
So I'm just not happy about the way that it's gone down. I'm not blaming anybody.
I have some safety concerns that probably aren't answerable right now. But currently, the canyon road's closed, and it's real easy to make the 1.5 miles or 1.75 miles trek from where subdivision stops and this parking lot for the trail system is. How are the youth that would love to use this park going to safely get up to it when there's cars going up and down the canyon once it opens? How are they going to do that safely? What's the vision for making that happen, Please, please.
One trail called Turkey Run, and it runs trail you can actually take along that brings you out of the power plant. Negotiate with the county and with the parking lot down lower. I think we're looking at all of those things. People already ride, walk, and
But-
whatever on that trail that's there. It's just that you can't use that trail. That's always a possibility. But, piece by piece, we're not trying to eat the whole elephant in the room. We're trying to look at this because of what it is adding, not only to outdoor recreation for all. It's not just, oh, we're doing this for the kids, because holy smokes, there's a lot of grown people bike. But
I don't mean to imply that I'm opposed to the project. I'm glad to hear that there's some thinking about how we're going to get people up and down there safely when there's cars on the road again.
well, there's one other aspect to this, and the other day I took a drive up the canyon and ran into a couple that had their family had been on the park. He's paraplegic. The company that built his little four-wheeled machine is out of Orem, but they're moving their headquarters to Springville right now. I wish they were coming to San Diego. They build this little thing called the rig, and it weighs about 130 pounds, and it's like an e-bike. It has e-bike wheels that are the fat tire. Guy who is a veteran and a paraplegic now rode that thing around the trails, and he said, "This is the only place in Utah County wide enough that I can ride my machine, ride these trails," and they were just ecstatic. And I contacted the company, and the company's first response was, "Hey, we're not here to give you money." All that, and it was like, no, I'm interested in what you have, because Mr. Collins, the guy I bumped into, he said, "I have a whole group. Is it okay if we all were to ride on this?" Veteran, and a bunch of others that have them, and they want to go somewhere besides an asphalt trail. Well, if we can look at ADA stuff, which the state asked us to do 2 years ago when John and I met with them, there is more money that's available for ADA stuff than even imaginable. Taken another couple of looks at the road. I'm actually thinking that maybe we can get some state money or even federal money with ADA on the east side of the road, elevated or do something so it's separated from the asphalt. Kick in enough money that you could build a trail. Walkers could do it, mountain bikers could do it, and they can go for 30 miles on those things. They are looking for an experience because they sit at home, they get to watch TV, and have a piece of equipment like this, but they can't go anywhere.
I hope you just understand my concern about the safety,
Yeah.
because the road's closed now, so it's really nice.
Well, it's still pretty busy, but
Not like it will be.
it looks to me like we have a new option, and an option might be ADA. Not a thing that bothers me about it. They were so excited because we had a big enough parking lot. They could unload their machine and ride from the parking lot, which was fun for them, but whole group of people an option. And the guy from the company, he said, are people going to be able to ride your trails? I don't know that we would ever say no. These people need something. I even told him, you know, if you don't like a turn, let me know. I'll come up and fix it.
I appreciate knowing that. Thank you for the information.
I think it's a good opportunity for us and a good chance to look at additional funding that can help us improve those things.
So I
Okay.
really hope that we will be successful in getting the UORG grant. What is the plan if we don't get as much as we want or apply for?
Well, I guess we could cover using impact fees, which we have sufficient to do that, or we could scrap the project. We'll know in, I think, January or February, so long before anything gets close to construction, we'll know what the grant's gonna have for us. So at a maximum, your question is that the whole thing could be covered by impact fees, and we have sufficient to be able to cover that.
Good? So the possible action, are we going to award this contract, or do we want to wait and have John here? Do you guys feel comfortable enough that we could say, hey, let's get busy? Questions? Possible action we could take is a motion to do so and a vote.
I've got a
I'll
recommended.
make a motion to approve a bike skills park build contract with American Ramp Company not to exceed $351,751.71. Direct staff to pursue a 50% matching grant from the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant and to utilize volunteers and other funding sources to reduce the amount of funds needed for the project.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Aye.
Councilman Meekum.
Aye.
Councilman Sitaway.
Aye.
Councilman Adcock.
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya. Reports from the officers.
All right, so I wanted to, I was looking at the dates today, and we have a fifth Tuesday this month, and so tentatively, you know, Jim Rowland was here from the Chamber of Commerce. We tentatively, we're still trying to lock it in. There's a couple things that we talked about this morning at our board meeting. But we tentatively have scheduled a annual board meeting, retreat type of a meeting, November 9th. And I always like to let the council know about that as the Santaquin City representative on the Payson Santaquin Area Chamber of Commerce Board. I just want to make sure that I'm representing what you would like to have and see done in the Chamber of Commerce. So with that said, I'm not necessarily asking for direction right now unless you have any, but I wanted to give you a heads up so that our next meeting is November 7th. If you could maybe think about it, and if you have any direction for me, I would appreciate it. That way I can go to that meeting with representing the council's functioning of the Chamber of Commerce. Just
When is our council meeting for
That
November
same,
7th.
that same day.
same day you'll have already met with them?
No, we meet the 9th. So the next council meeting's the 7th, a Tuesday, and our board, tentatively right now, we could push it off with we're trying to fill some vacancies on the board, because we want to make sure these new members can be there. But since it's still kind of tentatively planned for then, it would be November 9th. So just something to think about, and if you have any direction for me, I'd love to hear it from you.
Why don't we put it on the agenda so that we're see it when it's posted on the Friday before. About things that we might want to put on there, it might be
Our agenda, so.
let's do it. We can do a discussion. It might be a quick discussion. It might be a
Great. Okay. And then just a quick update on upcoming meetings. Next Tuesday, for DRC, we're going to continue the review, and I think we're getting close to making a recommendation. That is the DRC for second access requirement. We've talked about how to better support economic development on Main Street with some of the parcels and the hardships that are created with the requirement that we have for 2 accesses. So we've explored that. We've been meeting with UDOT, so that we'll continue to look at that. Right now, that is the one that we know will be on the agenda. There's a couple other things that we're still waiting for some complete applications, fees paid, that sort of a thing. So I'll hold off on those extra things until we get those complete applications. For Planning Commission, we did set 2 public hearings. One of them is for a zone change request here in the core area of town. This is a piece of property that's just south of the Holiday Oil gas station. This is a property owner proposal to change the zoning of that property. So we're running that through the process, and we'll hold a public hearing and provide a recommendation to the City Council. So this will likely be on your next agenda for your consideration. The other public hearing is kind of the first meeting of kind of a big change in the subdivision ordinance. If you remember, I believe it's Senate Bill 174 passed some changes, some mandates for city to modify their subdivision review process. I think I brought this up with you before or made mention of it. And appreciate Ryan Harris. He's done a great job of putting some things together. We're working with legal. But the really big changes that you'll see in this when it eventually gets to you is that there will be no more concept plan. And then the City Council will not be in the subdivision review process anymore. That's a state mandate that city councils aren't involved in that. So what we'll likely see is preliminary stage, which has DRC review, and then the Planning Commission would be the land use authority that would be approving that. And then after that, there would be just a final review, which would be done by the DRC. State even mandates that Planning Commission cannot be part of a final review. So that's really the essence of what we're doing. We're trying the subdivision ordinance probably needs even further to be further updated. However, we're trying to just take this piece at a time, and this is the first big piece, which is really a modification to the procedure of how subdivisions are reviewed.
So to be clear, a standard subdivision that meets code, zoning, et cetera, that doesn't need any legislative action, you would not have purview over that. That's something that you've already set the code, you've already set the standards, you've already set the zoning. If it meets all of that stuff, you won't have a play in that. You won't have a review in that process. So I saw some worried looks when Jason was talking about that, so I wanted to make sure if there's a code change that's sought, if there's a zoning change that's sought, if it's a development agreement because they want this or that, if it's an annexation, all of those are still legislative processes that are your purview. But for a standard residential subdivision, this is where we're going because it's mandated by the state.
Well, To be clear, this is for any
All
subdivision
subdivisions.
process. Obviously, there are some subdivisions that receive a designation for a PUD.
Right.
A PUD designation is essentially looked at like a rezone, which is a legislative action. So that's one of the things with this is it's kind of separating instead of like we've done before where we kind of run things concurrently, a development agreement, a PUD designation, subdivision are all kind of moving forward concurrently. This is going to be a separation of that, and we're going to take care of those legislative components of maybe a proposed development separately, and then we'll start the subdivision process. But that subdivision process for anything which is more an administrative review of whether it meets our code or not, that is the process that we're looking to update per state mandate.
Me, I just want to say thank you to both of you for explaining that, because I was about ready to start asking some very serious questions.
Well, and there's, as you know, there's still some tough discussions happening up at the state legislature on that topic, and you know, ULCT's advocating to have those things remain the way they are, or not not get too far into some of the legislative authority that the state's given the cities. But anyways, that's something that you'll be seeing one of your future meetings. So that's all I have to report.
Thanks, Jason. Mayor and council, you may, just to report on a couple of things, you may have seen the Summit Ridge Parkway has been paved. That's part of our industrial subdivision that we needed to do to beef up that road for the first, it's about a third of a mile, it's not quite a half a mile to the end of the new subdivision that we've created there so that we can have the heavier truck traffic on it. We did that at the direction of the geotech that originally did the work and then re-reviewed it for us as we went through the subdivision process, and put 2 inches extra of asphalt on that. And so that will handle the new truck traffic. The sign will move just to the south, and it will have a sign similar like what's out at Cars, where it just says limited ahead rather than limited here, and then they'll be limited at the south end of our subdivision, the south road on our subdivision. So that's taken place and done. They still have to stripe it, but other than that, that's done for the winter. You've seen the subdivision work going on out there as well. They're trying to move that forward as quickly as possible so that we can get it paved this year. We're still looking for that goal as we continue moving forward with that. Hang on just one. Meet the Candidates Night we've talked about is going to be on November 1st in this building just over by in the so they'll all have an opportunity. I know that the chamber has been in contact with all of them to get bios and kind of their statement and their picture and that kind of thing, so people know that. We'll be putting that, if it's not already out there, we'll be putting that link to the chamber's page on our social media and web pages so that people can get to that. Again, this is a chamber event. They are our candidates, but it is a chamber event and again, Doug Welton will be there to moderate for that event. Spooky Night at the Museum is this week, the Friday and Saturday this week and Monday of next week. They've moved it to the week before Halloween, so as to not necessarily compete with others, and we'll see how that goes. And then also Trunk or Treat at Centennial Park is still on for Thanksgiving Day.
Halloween Day.
Sorry, Thanksgiving. Yeah, we're gonna give out turkeys for trick or treat. Sorry, I'm moving ahead too far. They did have a cornhole tournament last night and yesterday that went really well, my understanding. And then lastly, unless you have any other questions, Jason's favorite holiday is coming up this month, and we have a 5th Tuesday. So there will not be another council meeting until 3 weeks from today 3 weeks, not 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today will be the next council meeting on November 7th. Because there's a 5th Tuesday, we won't have a council meeting in 2 weeks. We'll have it in 3. Happy to answer any questions on projects or anything else that you'd like to discuss if you have questions.
Has anything new happened with Juab County and the county line?
The mayor and I have had some email discussions with the county, with the Utah County attorney and the Utah County surveyor, and we understand they're still working on it. I've not seen a map or anything of that nature. They were several months ago. They were tentatively planning on trying to meet in September on that, but here we are in October and still waiting for a map and discussions, but nothing further to report on that at this point in time. As soon as I have something, I'm happy to share that with you, but we've at the commission's request, both commissions, we've stepped back and are in a supporting role, and the counties are striving to work the details out on that.
Look at the weather, it's gonna change soon. Where are we as far as timeline on Main Street, as far as doing the side, not the Main Street, of course, but the side stuff?
So the mayor alluded to that earlier. The Main Street project came in significantly over bid, and so we're gonna go back out to bid. We actually only received one bid that we feel like was too high. And so we're gonna go back out to rebid it. Probably this week we'll go out to rebid. We'll have another pre-proposal, pre-bid meeting, and then bring in new bids around just before the week before Thanksgiving. So that's where we currently stand on it. We were hoping to get going sooner than that, but with the cost being more than double what we have for funding, that just wasn't a possibility. So we're making some adjustments. We've talked to all the contractors, and the one contractor that bid on it and some other ones that didn't. We've tried to do some value engineering with them and say, hey, what could we do to make this so that it would be less expensive, more feasible for you to do, and those types of things. And so that's where we're headed with that, is to try and
The likelihood of something happening before winter is slim.
before winter is slim, but they could still do some winter work if they decide to do that as they're going through the process.
Thanks.
That all again depends on funding and contracting and all that kind of stuff that we won't know until in December sometime, with this being the week before Thanksgiving to close the bids.
I would imagine that we'll close the bids and then be another week to 2 weeks because of Thanksgiving before all the awards are done, and then they're 4 to 6 weeks just signing papers.
Yeah, and we may have the option to go back to MAG and ask for more money depending on where the bids came in, right? And so we've had some discussions with MAG, and they do have a little bit of contingency that could help us out, but not enough to even cover close to the cost of what was bid.
We might get a half a road done. Is that it? Dave?
Yeah, all I got is Thursday night, Community Services Board, and coming, and Norm probably knows. I don't even,
Yeah.
stuff's all kind of in there, just it shows you where groups putting into a lot of activities for
A lot of classes, a lot of
a lot of
sports.
classes, yeah, I mean, stuff on health, there's stuff
Yeah, and archery, all the
there.
they had, like I say, they had the cornhole yesterday, and so they've really ramped up, especially in this building. They've got a lot of activities happening in this building in the evenings and early mornings as well. Some mornings I get here at 6 o'clock, and there's folks here working out and doing their stuff, so that's great.
Both here and out there still, so they're gonna keep them both full.
Yep.
All right, well, I was gonna talk about the cornhole tournament, because I went out and helped there, but you already mentioned it.
Sorry.
No, it was well attended. It was done really well. It was about half as many people as we had in Orchard Days. All kind of expect it. Heard a lot of comments from people who don't live in Santaquin who came to play that they really appreciate our tournaments. Worth it sometimes, and so good job. I was going to mention Spooky Night Museum again, but one example, you can't please everybody. I have had complaints that it's on fall break. Well, I don't know. That's when we did it. And And then just today, John emailed the mayor and myself about doing the free bikes for kids again this year. So I've emailed Mike Romero to get us some more names like he did last year for us. And then we're gonna find a way to contact Miss Santaquin and see if she wants to be involved again like Allie was last year. Get the ball rolling on that. That's all I got.
With that, can you
That's all I got.
Well, I guess all of us were thinking about the museum, because I was also going to mention Spooky Night, so I hope people can attend and support the event that's going on Friday and Saturday at, 6? No, 7 to 9.
Monday.
Monday, 7 to 9.
Is that it, Art?
Yes.
Councilmember Montoya.
The YCC will be helping at the spooky night.
What?
Council.
Oh,
Talked about it
YCC.
4 times, sorry.
Yeah, the youth council will be helping at the spooky night. Thanks a bunch to staff for organizing the day of training and service. It was a great day, and the speakers were excellent, and I went out with Lisa and painted several fire hydrants. And we visited, and it was a beautiful day, and that was a really good service. They were in need
Yes.
of a brush up and a cleanup with fresh paint. So
I think that between all the groups, I think we did 120 fire hydrants in the core area of town,
awesome.
all,
Yeah.
all over the city, yeah.
Yeah, I love that event, and I was glad to be a part of it, just like I have in years before. Projects are always very worthwhile. And so thank you again to staff for organizing that. And that's it.
I'll try not to have a hospital visit next year.
Possibly looking at some
So similar funds to what we would be using to tear down the old junior high could help with blighted areas that could do 2 things. Low to moderate income housing could help with that, and also economic development, creating jobs. And we have a couple of areas in town that we think that could apply. So we're just gonna explore that further and see what we can come up with. We're not 100% positive that it will work for private property owners, but we've asked MAG that question, and they're trying to get that information back. We believe that it can. So other projects that have been done have helped out private property owners, not just cities.
That's kind of it. We do need to have an executive session. Called to discuss the pending of reasonable yeah, I got a phone call from Scott Larson the other day. Canyon, they're working, do you know which is right before the first bridge? That has been washed out much more than what it was last year. One of the things that really put off the kickoff of their work because they had to do so he invited me last week to go up and see the work that they're doing. They've actually been pouring concrete blocks up that boulders that were on the Dave Wilson Hill, jackhammered them apart. Calmly down through there, if you can, when there's 300 seconds. So they're making headway. They've been discouraged because there was so much work to do, but the encouraging part was they've included them in government is that they're being covered. Scott seems to feel that hoping to have the if they get them while the water is down low, that's going to help them between crossing one and the second crossing. That'd be a big deal, but there's no guarantee, and it depends on how the weather goes. But they are making headway. There's quite a few. I drove up to Trumbull. A lot of materials that are there. There's road base there. There's tell me as soon as they decide to pull out, they're going to pull their that has worked fantastic for them. They're
talking to them.
they're just trying to do everything that plans call for a stream bank stabilization. They're laying block. They're pouring in concrete walls. They're doing upper end working down, but okay. So we need to go into that executive session. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Montoya?
Aye.
Adcock?
Aye.
Councilman Sitaway?
Aye.
Councilman Meekum?
Aye.
Councilman Hathaway?
Aye.
Okay, we'll have a 10-minute break. We'll ask you guys come back next time.